The animals started running first. Then the sky turned black, and he knew everyone was about to die. But there was one problem. He couldn't speak.
They used to call him the Silent One. No one remembered when he stopped speaking. Some said he was born that way. Others whispered that life itself had stolen his voice, piece by piece, after too many losses, too many nights spent staring at a ceiling that never answered back. He lived on the edge of the village, in a small, broken house that leaned like an old man tired of standing. His days were simple. He carried water, fed stray animals, fixed small things no one else cared about. And in return, the village gave him nothing but looks, some filled with pity, others with quiet cruelty. Children mocked him sometimes, imitating his silence. Men ignored him. Women avoided his eyes. To them, he was not dangerous, just useless. And in a place where survival meant everything, being useless was worse than being hated. But he watched, always watched. He noticed things others didn't. The way the wind changed direction without warning. The way dogs barked at empty corners at night. The way the land cracked deeper each day, as if something underneath was trying to breathe. One evening, as the sun faded into a dull red line across the horizon, he saw it. Far beyond the hills, a dark wall rising slowly into the sky. Not clouds, not smoke, something heavier, something moving. His heart dropped. He had seen something like this once before, years ago, when everything he loved disappeared in a single night. His body moved before his thoughts could catch up. He ran. Through narrow streets, past closed doors, past people sitting, laughing, arguing, living like tomorrow was guaranteed. He grabbed a man by the shoulder, pointed toward the horizon, his eyes wide with terror. The man frowned, pulled his arm away. "What do you want?" he snapped. The mute man opened his mouth, forced his throat to push anything, any sound. Nothing. Just air. The man shook his head and walked away. He ran to another and another, pulling sleeves, pointing, begging with his eyes. But desperation without words looks like madness. And madness is easy to ignore. As the sky darkened unnaturally fast, a strange wind began to rise. Not a normal wind, but one that carried dust, heat, and a low, distant roar that felt more than heard. The animals felt it first. Goats pulled at their ropes, birds scattered in chaotic circles, dogs howled, not at something they saw, but something they knew. Still, the people hesitated. Fear didn't come to them as quickly as it came to him. Because they had voices. They argued, questioned, doubted. He had only silence and certainty. He climbed onto a broken cart in the center of the village. His hands shook as he raised them, waving, shouting into nothingness. His face twisted with effort, veins tightening in his neck as he forced his body to do something it had forgotten long ago. A sound came out. Not a word, not even a voice, just a broken, painful scream. It startled them. Not because it was loud, but because it wasn't supposed to exist. The silent one making sound. They turned. For a moment, just a moment, the village listened. He pointed again, desperately, his entire body begging them to see what he saw. Some followed his gaze, and then they saw it. The wall in the distance, closer now, taller, swallowing the sky itself. A storm, but not like any they had known. The ground trembled faintly, and suddenly silence spread among them. Not his silence. Theirs. Panic came next. Fast, loud, messy. People rushed, gathered children, pulled animals, shouted over each other. Some ran blindly. Others froze, unable to move. And in the middle of it all, the mute man stood, gasping, his throat bleeding from a voice it wasn't meant to carry. He didn't run. Instead, he moved toward the oldest houses, the weakest walls, the places that would fall first. He knocked, pulled people out, guided the elderly, carried what little he could. No one ordered him. No one thanked him. But for the first time, they followed him. Because in a moment where everyone had a voice, his silence had been the only truth. The storm hit like a punishment no one understood. Wind screamed through the village, tearing roofs, breaking doors, turning years of life into seconds of loss. Dust swallowed everything. Day became night. People cried out for help, for mercy, for answers. But the storm didn't listen, and neither did the past, when they had ignored the only warning they were given. Hours passed like years, and then, slowly, the wind weakened. The dust settled. And what remained was not the same village. Homes broken, paths erased, faces covered in exhaustion and disbelief. People looked around, counting what they had left and what they had lost. Among them, they found him, sitting on the ground, back against a cracked wall, his chest rising slowly, his eyes half closed, his throat damaged, his voice gone again, maybe forever. But this time, no one laughed, no one looked away. A child approached him first, the same one who used to mock his silence. He stood there quietly, unsure, holding a small piece of bread. Then, slowly, he placed it in the mute man's hand. No words, just something simple, something human. Others followed. Not with grand gestures, not with apology spoken out loud, but with actions. Water placed beside him, a blanket over his shoulders, a hand resting briefly on his back, not out of pity, but recognition. For the first time, the village saw him, not as useless, not as broken, but Someone who had carried a truth they refused to hear until it almost destroyed them. Days passed. The village began to rebuild. Not just their homes, but something quieter, something deeper. They listened more, watched more, and when the Silent One walked through the streets, they didn't turn away because they had learned something the hard way. That sometimes the loudest warnings don't come from voices, and sometimes the one you ignore the most is the only one who sees what's coming. He never spoke again. But he didn't need to, because in the end, it wasn't his voice that saved him. It was the moment he chose to scream, even when he knew no one would hear.
If this story meant something to you, subscribe. The next story might mean even more.